Hello again, everyone. It's me, Justin, for 1001 Movie Reviews You Must See Before You Die. Tonight I will be talking about, and probably having nothing nice to say about, Birth of a Nation, directed by D.W. Griffith in 1915. Obviously, you know why I'm not going to have anything nice to say about this movie. It's because of the whole aspect of it that has to do with the KKK and the glorification of the KKK. So I'm gonna get right to it because I got a lot to talk about, and probably shouldn't go too long in these reviews because I'm sure there's gonna be people out there that are gonna be like, oh well, I don't have the attention span to listen to all this blah 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 blah. Okay, I'll get right to it. I'll do the review and I'll try not to make it too long. I'll try and make it so that it's just 3 parts because obviously I have to cut these up into parts because I can't upload over 10 minutes each for my videos. So, getting right to it, the first thing I wrote down for my review is there was this whole disclaimer at the beginning saying that they weren't going to offend anybody, that this was all for art's sake, and that they weren't going to try to offend anyone. Well, that's total bullshit because they offended quite a few people. D.W. Griffith offended quite a few people in the last 100 years or so almost that it's been since this movie came out. It would be 100 years in 2015, and I really hope that this movie doesn't get a 100th anniversary DVD edition because it does not deserve it for all the racist elements it has within it. So, there's also another title card at the beginning stating that on every title card in the movie, the title cards in between each shot, so you know what's going on in the movie. D.W. Griffith's name appears on every single title card, and I don't understand why somebody would do that, even for 1915. I mean, it's just pointless. I mean that's total arrogance on D.W. Griffith's part. I mean, who does that? I mean, I would never do that for one of my movie reviews. I mean, why would I need to put a title card? I mean, that would just, there's no need for it. Anyway, moving on. The first thing I noticed, for the whole racist element of this, is the claim that the blacks caused the Civil War. Well, yeah, to some extent they did. I mean, because, a bunch of stupid, ignorant, racist people decided it'd be best to have, enslave an entire race of people and bring them over to America. So, I mean, yeah, to some extent, they did cause the Civil War, but, this movie I think is from the South's point of view, so, everyone thinks, oh, the blacks are the worst thing ever, hence we have to enslave them. Anyway, moving on to something a little less racist, probably one of the couple things that are not racist in this movie is the actor that plays Abraham Lincoln in it. I could have sworn, it was Abraham Lincoln himself. He'd come back from the dead to be in this movie, but then I had to stop and myself because and say, you dummy. I mean, Abraham Lincoln would never be in a movie about, the KKK. He freed the slaves. I mean, come on. What are you thinking? Anyway, there's a scene in the movie where they're going off the war, or the Civil War, in the South. There's 2 families in the movie: the Stonemans from the north and the Camerons from the south. And in the Camerons' mansion, there's a ball the night before they go off to war, and there's a banner hanging that says that the Confederates' cause is a just cause. Well, more bullshit, because their cause was, our cause is to keep the blacks enslaved so we don't have to do work, We'll just have all the slaves do it. So, I mean, more bullshit. I mean, who would, think that keeping a race of people enslaved is a just cause? I mean, you had to be out of your freaking mind to believe that. I mean, it's absurd. Anyway, as they go off to war, the Civil War, they leave the town of Piedmont where it takes place in the South. There's black people waving to the Confederate troops, and I'm like, okay, if I was a black man back then, the only thing I would be waving at a Confederate soldier would be this, and I don't care if they would shoot me, for it. This was all I would be waving at a Confederate soldier. But thinking about it, it got me to thinking that maybe it was like the Stockholm syndrome, where like these slaves were just so used to working for these people that they kind of like the Stockholm syndrome took over, and it's just it's a sad thing to think of, but maybe they just got used to working for these people. But anyway, leads me to something even worse, is the false portrayal of the what I believe to. I mean, there's a title card that says this regiment of African American soldiers were raised in South Carolina, but I kind of felt like they were alluding to the 54th Massachusetts Regiment that was the first ever African American infantry regiment in the Civil War, led by the famous Robert Gould Shaw out of Massachusetts, whose family were abolitionists at the time. And it's just if you've ever seen the movie Glory, there is a scene kind of like this, but but this movie is worse because they portray the blacks as being nothing but a bunch of thieving rapists, and then of course the Confederates come and they save the day, and but in stark contrast, in the movie Glory, the 54th Regiment, Massachusetts Regiment in that movie was nothing like that. They were only forced into doing it by somebody that outranked Shaw, and he had no choice but to fire the town. Possibly, it was the town of Piedmont, and so I just felt, it was just a sickening portrayal, and of course the horrible, the horrible thing of white actors, wearing blackface, which is just so abundantly racist these days. It was just sickening to me to think like, that they were just falsely portraying the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. So if you want to see how the 54th Massachusetts Regiment really was, watch Glory. It's a great movie with Denzel Washington, Matthew Broderick, and Morgan Freeman. And of course I'll review it someday because it is in 1001 Movie Reviews You Must See Before You Die. Anyway, of course, after the Confederate soldiers come and save the day from the black regiment, who are evil and the bad guys in this movie. There's a black woman hugging a Confederate soldier, and it got me to thinking, why is she doing this? I wouldn't be hugging a Confederate soldier. I'd be slapping him upside his head. Anyway, moving on. During one of the battle scenes, one of the Stonemans and one of the Camerons, they meet, and of course, they both die laying next to each other, and I just thought, oh, this is so cheesy, But I also thought, well, that's the first time that this has ever happened in a movie, and it's just funny to see how something like this went on to be a cliche in a movie about like how brothers going off to war from opposing sides meet on the battlefield and then end up either killing each other, or one dies and they come across them or whatever. And it's just it's just funny to see how that's just such a cliche these days. But at the same time, I don't doubt that something like this did happen during the Civil War or during World War II even. It very likely could have happened.